Now let's learn what kind of a language Go actually is. But before that, it's important to know the difference between static and dynamic typed languages. So languages are said to be static typed or strongly typed if compiler throws an error when we use data types incorrectly. Some examples of such languages are C, C++, and Java. Let's understand with a simple C++ example here. And don't worry, you don't have to understand the code. We'll just focus on the code logic. So here we have a function called add, and it takes in two inputs, int a and int b, which are supposed to be two numbers, and it prints out the addition result a plus b. So here when we give two numbers as an input, which is as expected, it will print the addition result. While if we try to give one number and one string, it will throw us an error because that is not what was expected by the compiler. And this is the reason that it's throwing us an error. So C++ is a strongly typed language, and hence compiler will throw an error when we use data types incorrectly. Now languages are said to be dynamically typed or sometimes also loosely typed if the compiler does not enforce the data type system. Some example of these languages are Python and JavaScript. For instance, let's understand from the same example, but this time written in JS. So as you might notice, we don't need to write int a and int b over here. We can simply write a comma b. So no need of specifying the data types. Now here when we give two numbers as an input, it prints out the addition result, which is fine. It worked in both the cases. While if we try to give one number and one string, function still adds both of them together and gives us the result. So in this case, compiler did not enforce any data type system. And thus such languages are called weakly typed, loosely typed, or dynamic typed. Now, both of these kind of languages have advantages of their own. And before we know what kind of a language Go is, we need to also know the advantages of both of these kind of languages. So for static typed, it provides better performance. Bugs can often be caught by a compiler quickly, and it offers better data integrity. While for dynamic typed, it's faster to write code, it's generally less rigid to work with, and developers comparatively feel that they have a shorter learning curve when they are using a dynamic typed language. So what about Golang? Talking about Go has a concept of data types that is either explicitly declared by a programmer or is implicitly inferred by the compiler. So it's a fast, statically typed, compiled language, but sometimes it's so easy to use that it feels like a dynamically typed, interpreted language. Now let's see a program in Golang to kind of get an idea of what does this mean. So first we have package and import declarations. We've already learned about them in the previous modules. So now we would be writing our code inside the main function, which is basically the entry point of the program. Here we declare a variable called name, and this is a very popular way of declaring variables in Golang and is known as short variable declaration. Now you might have noticed that we didn't specify any keyword or even the data types of the variable. This is because the compiler has implicitly assigned the string data type to the name variable over here. Now we print it, and when we run a program, we get our expected result. So no worries if you did not understand the program completely. We'll get into the details of variables and declarations later on. That's it for this lecture. Head over to the labs and start practicing what you've just learned.